And now they
8
can hear us.
seconds.
So mind your manners, Johnny Million. And tell everybody to
You
like
got
the
it,
show.
motherfucker.
Oh, quit it.
Oh, come on.
Have your
Funny
attention.
first.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
I gotta say this week, Johnny Million, this feels like your show, my friend. This feels like a show that you
There
are
we go.
particularly... like this is what you've been building towards. You know what I mean? This is your M. Night
Everybody in my
Shyamalan
chat was like,
Signs
they just
moment.
they couldn't wait just to hear what you would have to say about Trump falling asleep and not being able to control his output, I guess.
Yes, and that you have been building towards this moment, a moment we've all. Okay, for the record, I think I do deserve credit for calling it right away. I do deserve credit.
You do deserve credit.
Boy, do I. So for those of you that are just joining us in the middle of this madness, it is 4:20 today, so I guess relax and eat some munchies that agree with you at this point. So Trump, when there was news stories early this week that Trump had started dozing off in court, mouth going slack, head dropping, like it's almost like the closest he's ever been as a New Yorker to riding the subway. We've all been there.
Has he ever had to be up for this long?
No,
like, has
well,
he
not
ever
in
had
public.
to get
No,
up that early?
no. It's the illusion that he's like awake at all hours, only needs 4 hours of sleep, has never-ending energy, has been something he's been able to sell to people for a long time because of the BS support structure around him from the sycophants that surround him, right? So it is abundantly clear that was mythology, and the Sleepy Joe moniker that he gave Joe Biden was ultimately
Again,
yet another projection from Donald Trump, and not surprising to anybody that it turned out to be a bunch of hooey, I think is the word.
Someone in the chat just said, I hate Trump, but court is boring as hell. And I agree, but everybody else in court managed to keep their eyes open.
I got news for you. If your freedom's on the line, boy, court gets real exciting.
Can you imagine the adrenaline dump of like,
yes, I can.
I could face like...
As someone who went through what is effectively a 5-year custody issue, that was never fun. Ultimately worked out, but was...
And you got full custody of me.
That's right. I got Johnny in the divorce. And,
that's right.
I've
and
never
the thing
been
is
married.
that he was married to my parole officer, which was there's so many conflicts.
Yeah, that was a marriage of convenience, if anything. And I think it, with common law rules being, I don't know what's going on in Chicago. 7 weeks? That's absurd. That's like Hollywood common law.
Yeah, 7 weeks and you're in.
Yeah, you date more than 4 weeks, and if you stay over 3 nights in a row, you're a common law marriage in LA.
I'm just glad you won.
Me too, absolutely, because then I'm but now I'm, it's kind of like the old idea of saving someone's life in Buddhism. I'm now responsible for all your criminality.
Yes.
Right. So, in particular, though, I got news for you. If stuff matters to you in that case, oh boy, you're awake. Even the boring stuff is where, maybe it's just because he's used to a life of cush where people have run off, whatever his problems are, his challenges are, they've run him off at the pass for him before they ever reached his doorstep. He always had people like Michael Cohen and others fixing stuff for him before it became troublesome to where he had to pay too much attention to
before
it.
He had to address it for real, yeah.
Right. And even in the, in his bankruptcy court proceedings, that's mostly paperwork, right? There was never a real bankruptcy trial in any of the stuff that he was doing, right? So I don't remember ever stories of him, Donald Trump appeared at the court building in, 97, right? About some aspect of his organization going bankrupt for the sixth time, right? So he's never, he's never been through this process. I got to tell you, you sit down with your attorneys, and if you even partially listen to what they're talking about, you know that it's the little things that matter. Picking the
Oh
jury,
yeah.
as they say in most movies, most of the directing is done in the casting. And that can
Mm.
have a lot to do with this process as well. You might get bored listening to your own crap being read for the umpteenth time to the jury, right? Because you've heard it so many times. You've read all these stories in the news, and, they're reiterating stuff you've heard before. But during the jury selection, that'll pique your interest. That'll get your adrenaline up. Now, it very well may be an adrenaline spike followed by a crash.
Sure,
It
sure.
very well
I'm
may be
familiar.
at his age, and with this kind of like he wakes up sweaty in a panic. And by the way, I have put some truth sinkhole posts in our little collective notion for you and I.
Oh, okay.
And I don't expect you to read
Ah,
all. Oh, where'd you
ah,
go? You went away. Your
ah,
camera went away. Why did you?
ah.
It's actually no. It's better. Leave it like that. It's good.
Hey.
I'm glad. It's nice. I'm kidding. It's nice to know you have an Elgato, though. I suppose this is not an ad
Oh
for
yeah.
Elgato. We're not sponsored in any way.
Not
So
yet. We will be.
there you go. He's back,
Hi.
and he's frozen. There he is. Okay, so you can see those now. I gotta say, there are a couple of aspects of this, if I may, Johnny Million, that read, if you will. You have them in front of you.
Pulling them up now. I was
Okay.
too busy panicking.
I understand. So there are the first three are about the court proceedings that we have that have gone on this week, and I won't ask you to read the whole of the first two because they are enormous. They are just these guttural dumps that he throws online. I forget what
About
he calls
the
them.
Scam
Dumps.
rush trial.
They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
So he's been putting in these big massive dumps while he's
Relatable.
yeah. And I mean, I can quote it directly. Here's the first one, and then the second one says, and then after that there is a good. Okay, so did you hear that, Johnny Million? I just want to know if you heard that.
No,
those audio drops?
we're not hearing those.
Okay, all right.
Or
So
I'm not.
the
Maybe they are. on
audience
YouTube.
is, but everybody else you're not. Okay, good.
Okay.
So good to know. I'll see what I can do to make sure that you can hear that as well. But Trump ultimately is in one of these situations where he's crossing the streams again. Let's just say, in terms of the where we would talk about his conflicting talking points, I guess, is the
About
nicest way I can
presidential
put it.
immunity.
Yeah, well, no, we'll get to that in a minute. The first one is
Okay.
this scam rushed trial taking place in a 95% Democrat area's planned and coordinated witch hunt is a planned and coordinated witch hunt that could have been brought 8 years ago, but everybody passed. Instead, they waited and brought it right in the middle of my presidential campaign. Okay, the scam rushed, and he has rushed in quotes. I'm not sure why. I think sometimes he puts words in quotes that are normal because he thinks he's letting you know that other people have said this. You know how he does this thing, very respected person, when he doesn't know anyone, when he's gonna give a very important position in government to someone he's never met before, and he's afraid it's gonna bite him in the tuchus, as it were.
Yeah.
He'll
Very well
do this.
respected.
He'll go, this very well respected. Everybody says so, right? He'll do that. I think this is that version of that. I really do. I think he does the air quotes on, while he's writing that goes, I'm not saying it's rushed. Other people are saying it. Jonathan Turley is saying it's rushed,
yeah,
right?
that's his
that
favorite
idea.
thing.
Because otherwise there's no real reason to put them in quotes. Just call it rushed, right? But the idea is that I think that's what he thinks it means and it doesn't. So it's pretty ridiculous. But the second one is Judge Merchan is railroading also in quotes, breakneck speed in order to completely satisfy his friends, which are in quotes also. I don't know. Does he think they're fake friends, or It's so weird. Anyways, the third one is the tell. This trial is a long, rigged endurance contest.
There we go.
Yeah, right. Dealing with with nasty, crooked people who want to destroy our country, MAGA 2024. So, yeah, you gotta if you're gonna campaign on a particular idea, don't also campaign on the exact opposite idea. I think now all the bets are off clearly with Trump, but I think that's indicative. When we come back, I would like to discuss his thoughts on immunity, which was the Supreme Court case he couldn't show up for this week, which he would have not been allowed to speak at, and it was just a way to try to get out of this court and punt it.
Yeah.
And then we also have live right now, the vote and amendments are going on for Ukraine funding, which, for the record, will pass today. And so will Taiwan and Israel aid. Those will pass today. They will go straight from the House right to the president's desk. The amendments are being dropped and punted. And I'm going to see if I can bring up an example of that, which is just kind of sums up the Republican strategy, the maggot Republican strategy, not the general working Republicans who are trying to salvage their party from the abyss. In just a moment. So we'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. All right. Now let me see if I can bring this up and see if I can find the... Please go to the same moment that I saw. Okay, I'll just watch from the beginning.
Floor where they're beginning their session. Thank you.
You can hear that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let me try to dial this back to when. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yeah, it won't let me jump forward like a. Make me so mad.
And I want to say to the chat that just because I don't repeat every joke that they throw in, they are very funny. You are all very funny, chat.
Chat's
Except for you.
hilarious.
You know who I'm talking about.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can play.
We would send a signal that the United States risk.
Argument of the stability in the whole country is where the Ukraine is a dangerous will also.
Gentleman yields. Woman from.
Okay, so is that how's the volume on that? Is it
very good?
Connecticut, recognized.
Connect. Yeah, the gentlewoman from Kaniki is available. From Danny.
Everybody in the chat thinks that they're the funny person, that I'm not repeating their jokes, and that's what I wanted to happen.
By the way, today is not the day when you have to work really hard on your jokes. I gotta say, you just go straight to.
They just kind of happen.
You heard these, right?
Yes.
You can now hear that? Okay.
Can you hear mine?
Yes, I can.
All right.
We're coming back.
Yep.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So the vote is going on right now. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled making fun of Trump for exploring Shart Week in the courtroom. But let me... That's what got him in trouble in the first place. All right, or third place, or second place, number 2. I forget how you like to put it.
I like fighting number 2.
As you do.
Okay,
right? So,
I'm sorry, Hal, but Treva just said odor in the court.
Yes, I've seen that. Law and Order. It's you can't miss.
God damn it, that's funny.
Again, yes, it is. It's super good. All right, so this is moments ago in the U.S. House.
Speaker, I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Georgia. Those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no.
So if you didn't hear that, those in favor say aye. There was a single voice in the back of the room that went, aye.
Was it
Guess who
Barack?
No, it was this is on the amendment from the gentlewoman from Georgia. So
she was the only one who seconded.
She,
you can't second your own, can you?
well, she didn't second it. It's already been brought to the floor. She's the only one who voted aye. She's the single aye vote on her thing. Now, this isn't a big deal. This is not the weird thing. I would like to now hear the no's. There you go. Do you hear the no's? Okay, basically everyone in the room.
Of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
I asked for the yeas and nays.
Yeah. Do you get what's happening here?
Yep.
She's the only aye vote in the entire House. Everyone else who's present voted no.
How many people in the House, Hal?
Well, there's a total of 470 some odd members right now, I think, right? But
it's a mad large number.
But right now, there's only a huge chunk of Democrats, and most of the Republicans aren't there. They're not humoring her. They're not going to side with her. Ooh. They don't want to be in the room while she and Chip Roy and others present their amendments, so they don't have to vote against them. They're just not going to be present. So they've all left, essentially, and they're going to come back later and vote for the actual bill itself. Most Republicans. And even the ones that are there are not voting for any of these amendments. But Marge and Chip Roy and some of these others are just trying to eat up time with these recorded votes. Like, make them go and get all the ayes and the nays, have everybody go on record. When it's, it would be one thing if Republicans weren't always decrying government, is full of bureaucracy and can't do anything right, when they absolutely use that methodology to sort of enforce their will in the circumstance. So it is a pathetic attempt. For the record, it will not work. And these bills will pass today, and the president will sign them more than likely by the end of the day or first thing tomorrow. And even upon the passing of them, they will already be making the phone calls, gather the stuff, and have it ready to go out the door as far as military supplies and aid and money and all that kind of stuff. And then the minute he does, the planes take off, is essentially how it works. And there's a logistical time distance between those things happening. So whatever. But for the record, enjoy for a moment at me telling you on the radio that Marge looks miserable, lonely, frustrated, almost having an existential moment about the worth of her life or her position in government. Like one of these things.
You know what you're doing is like actual high praise that she's self-aware.
Right. Yeah, no, I think she's capable of frustration. I don't think she actually
true.
cares about the ramifications. I think that frustration is based on her own selfish desires or her financial backing from Russia or whoever's, ended up funding her gym or whatever it was. Right? But I just want to be clear, because Phil's going to be on in the second hour, and I want to tee this up by saying this bill is going to get passed today. It is going to make it with everything intact. There aren't going to be any of these ridiculous amendments in it that will capsize it or make it poison pill so other people can't vote for it. And it will pass and get through. I'm just telling, I just want to just take off that pressure point for anybody who's like, I don't know. I know. We all know. Everybody knows except Marge. And even it's starting to dawn on her.
What's the name of the new Senate leader puppet guy?
Mike Johnson?
Yeah, what made him cave?
Well, it's debatable, depending on who you listen to. But as Speaker of the House and being third in line for the presidency, 2 heartbeats away from the president, right? Or 2 ending heartbeats away, 2 final heartbeats, I guess. Right? That's always been a weird statement. But he gets briefings as the Speaker that the rest of the House doesn't get. That the people on the Security Committee, Senate gets more intense briefings than House members get. because of the
That
sort
makes
of
sense.
temporary nature of the House and the funding aspect of it. So the oversight on the actions happens, no matter what the House wants it to be. The payment stuff, the House is deferential to the Senate in terms of funding. If somebody in the Senate says we shouldn't be paying for this program, the House doesn't even necessarily fight it out. They just tell me why you should have this money, as opposed to doing these kind of investigations unless there's a large amount of criminality. At least that's how it used to work, and now everybody's jumped around. But yes, there's the Gang of Eight, and in that is the Speaker, and the Speaker must get the real briefings. He's got to be someone who, God forbid, in a huge emergency like a nuclear war or some sort of massive attack that takes out the president and the vice president, be able to step into the role immediately. So he's getting the same briefings they are in terms of this stuff. But he's also, technically speaking, not allowed to say what he's seeing to just everybody in the House or everybody in the Senate. You have to be at a certain level of clearance on a committee, and partly why the national security committees are meaningful is because you do have a higher clearance level than just a freshman.
I can't imagine like being in that position, like hearing just the absolute worst, like the awful things that are going, but then like having to pretend that you're still on the other side of it, and just being like, well,
right. Well, or having somebody like MTG, having somebody like MTG
right thing to do.
Yell at you like you after you just watched the the unearthing of more mass graves in Bucha and the like, and the actual evidence we have that we don't plan on bringing, let's say, until after the war is over, when we take it to The Hague and this will be tried like that, but we're just gathering it at the time. But it's not supposed to get out, so these people don't know who we're after specifically, and they can't bug out of the country or bug out or kill the people who might be the witnesses, if they come through and manage. Let's say Russia, Marge succeeds, has them on their heels, has the Ukrainians on their heels again, and the Russians manage to break through a line and get as far as they were in the beginning of the war, and they can kill the people who are in that city who were witness to what happened because they know who they're going to be. That's why you don't spread that information to people and let it out beyond people who have the clearance and that's necessary. And now Mike Johnson is one of those people. And Mike Johnson, for what it's worth, is a deluded as he may be about his Moses position in the world, fancies himself an actual Christian. And there is a certain amount of sort of cognitive dissonance that he's going to deal with all the time supporting Donald Trump. That's which we saw when he met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago last week, and he said hardened criminals, and he pointed at Trump with his thumb when he said it. He said, we got people coming across the border, and we have people causing trouble in this country, that are vicious, hardened criminals. And he just went like that and literally thumb pointed.
That was pretty amazing.
Literally thumb pointed at Trump when he said hardened criminals. Like, he can't even hide it from himself in that regard. It's seeping through. And in this particular instance, he fancies himself, I'm sure, as a lot of them did, as sort of a slightly more Christian Ronald Reagan. Look at his hair, look at his attitude, look at what he was brought up in, sort of what conservative circles he was brought up in. That's how he views himself. And again, all dilution of your own self-worth and delusions of grandeur aside. It's kind of like
Mitt Romney light.
Yeah, it's exactly that. If anything, it's Mitt Romney. It's the hard lemonade version of Mitt Romney, actually, because he's Mitt Romney actually believes it and kind of lives it. He's just economically, more in line with what Reagan would want to do, and sort of Volckerism, which is an old school way of, conservative anti-tax thought. But he's not libertarian about it. He's not off he's not outside the boundaries of normalcy for old-fashioned conservatives. Mike Johnson
we just got in the chat a request for a fart noise.
Yeah, well, we go live to the court. Yeah, Donald Trump is getting a review from his lawyers right now. We're hoping he gets it out of his system. We'll be back right after this. Live from outside the courtroom. Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. Direct quote. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Megaworldwide. Oh, it's so nice to be so childish in the middle of all this.
I feel like I need to add delay to mine.
What, to give it some, like, make the room. So it sounds like you're getting it from live inside the room.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Too much.
I don't know that. No, I think it's just right. It's the Goldilocks of fart noises. Yeah.
Hi, Flora.
Yeah. I have, in this case, that's the Trump fart. I mean, like, for me, that's a kind of classic because it's also the clump fart. That's straight out of the Nutty
That's
Professor.
out of the movie?
No, it's not. They borrowed it. It's an old one.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. These, these are. I mean, if you want to be more honest about Trump, that's really what's happening.
Oh, don't trust that last one.
No. Damn, I just messed up my pants. You clean about yourself. Come on, Cletus. Come on. Come on. You walk it over, but you're limping back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was so good as her.
Thank you, Devin.
That character is amazing. Mike Douglas. Sorry. So, now, all right, we'll talk about the immunity thing in a minute.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Now, I gotta say, in a couple of situations, there was an article on, I think it was Raw Story this morning, that said he's gonna pop. Legal analyst warns that Trump won't be able to handle being in court this, all these days and stuff. And I gotta say, I misread the word pop. Oh my gosh, Tom Mal 622. Thank you so much for the super chat. 666 super chat writ large. Bless you. I gotta say, when I first glanced at it, I read it as he's going to poop. And I don't know what to tell you. My second thought was, I agree, if he hasn't already.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tamal. That was so much. Appreciate you guys supporting the show. Don't forget, patreon.com/HalSparks. Great way to keep us on the air.
Oh, here's another one.
Appreciate
He's posting all of his views on Toot Social.
Yes, Toot Sinkhole, we call it. I call it
Sinkhole. Thank you,
I like
Barbara.
Truth Sinkhole because that's where the truth goes to fall into a crevasse, as it were. But there was an article on the Daily Beast today that, and let me see, I'll bring this up if I can, and without crashing my software, which is being testy today. You're not Rob Glenn. I will change that for you, Johnny Million. There you go. That Trump is. This is the title of the article. Trump fumes as judge orders him to sit like a dog. Now, couple of things. One, the judge did not order for him to sit like a dog. At no point did he go, good boy, after, because Trump did sit down. And so if you order a dog to sit, after he sits, you have to go, good boy. And he did not give him a treat either. He did
I was
not hold
about
out
to
a
say,
treat.
what's the treat? He just hands him an Adderall?
Not jail. Yeah, he gave him an Adderall. That's right. He gave him some Pervitin, which Trump thinks is some sort of Nazi Viagra, I'm sure. But where can I get some of that Pervitin? It would really help me. It wouldn't help Melania. Number 4.
Sit like a dog.
Yeah.
Right in the headline.
Yes, this is the headline of the story. Trump fumes as judge orders him to sit like a dog. Okay, first of all, the judge did not order him to sit like a dog. And this is my little message to the press covering this going forward, because check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Yes, and also the word sit also threw me for a loop after pop. It's just hard not to. But in this particular instance, the judge did not order Trump to sit like a dog. He ordered him to sit like a defendant in a courtroom should, and every other defendant has to do. That's it. I'm part of me is annoyed that there's they're playing this up, because in some ways I think this is more about poking Trump and making him feel like crap. Like when he sees these headlines, these are audience of one headlines to mess with him. But obviously, the Jesse Waters of the world who are running interference for him will use this as an example of an order that, an article that says, look, they're making him sit like a dog. This judge is treating him like a dog. No, he isn't.
Right, just like the when they were doing the jury selection and going through their social media, it ended up trolling him because if they posted anything negative, it would have to be
read out loud,
presented as like, here's why this person can't be a juror. They think Trump's an idiot.
Right.
But like over and over and over, and so it seemed like a setup.
Well, but it isn't, because in any other course of a regular trial where you would have evidentiary hearings and situations.
What are your thoughts on the police? What are your thoughts on whatever it is?
I mean, whatever, like John Benet Ramsey, the Peterson case, like any missing person case that became part of the news, any story about a serial killer who had, posted online something they'd said or was known in some circles or what have you. Like, you have to ask the jury what they've heard about this case, if they've said anything about this case that would preclude them from being able to be impartial. So this happens all the time. This isn't Trump being treated like a dog. This is Trump, and it's worse than him being treated like a dog for Trump. It's him being treated like a normal person. That's
and that will
what's
not
going
do.
That will not stand. This aggression will not stand, man. That's genuinely, that is what's going on here. That's what's horrifying to him. That is what is allegedly enraging Donald Trump, is that he views the rest of us as useless eaters and suckers to be manipulated by his fake billionaire status and his trophy wives and his gold painted furniture and all that kind of stuff to go, wow, he must really have it together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Never mind that he lives in like a nouveau riche setting, crap B-movie Hugh Hefner lifestyle from the mid 70s, right? That he was never qualified to live by looks or intellect or art or anything else. He's a second generation rich kid and should be referenced as such in all circles, right? But specifically, he has, this goes to sort of my feeling about why he thinks all women are effectively prostitutes, which is what this kind of money grubbing idea about women, that they're really just out to get you, and that he has this kind of like vacillating disgust for women because he needs their attention to have his worth. But he knows he's not getting it because of his charm, his intellect, or his looks. So he knows it's because of his money. So in the back of his head, he has to have contempt for any woman who would spend any time with him. He has to. I mean, that's why he buried his first wife on a golf course, because that's any woman who's with me has to be a conniving gold digger, because she's seen my face and I've seen my reflection. So clearly, she's not blind. So obviously she wants my money. Therefore, if a woman is with me, she wants my money. If a woman isn't with me, then I have to confront the fact, especially if she's attractive, that women that don't want me are evidence that under normal circumstances, where a woman doesn't have any interest in my money, they would have no interest in the rest of me, and therefore it calls it out for judgment. And he hates that because you can't allow that hole to appear in your armor, right? You can't let that weakness show. Otherwise, there's, blood in the water in the social circles he ran, right? And that's when the other rich dudes start running off with your wives and your girlfriends that you keep in apartments and that kind of stuff. And it's it's about having a harem and bragging about it. So there are only two classes of women in the world: women who know he's ugly and he hates them for knowing it, and women who know he's ugly but sleep with him because he's got money, who he views as completely blind and stupid and only out to get his money, and therefore are prostitutes or whoas in that regard, right? And so that's
really
where
starting to not like this guy.
Yeah, I know. I don't think you could make it on the jury after today's show.
Yeah.
If they needed you as an alternate Johnny Million.
Right.
But I gotta say, he feels the same way about the general public. I wish this was just, you could kind of say this was just aligned to his generalized sexism, but it ain't.
Yeah.
It's not, honest to God, it's not because he is sexist, don't get me wrong, and he definitely has this issue with women about this particular order, but he also has this about his generalized self-esteem because it's not just his looks. It's not just his lack of personality or his lack of, of being able to carry on a normal conversation. It's like weird social awkwardness and creepiness that he always has. It applies to his own followers because he is, if you'll see him, while he is flattered by large crowds of his supporters, one-to-one, he is creeped out by them. When he points out his front row Joes, he's like, "Oy, these people," right? On the one hand, if there's a dozen or two of them in the front row, he'll go, "Look, I've drawn, like I'm like a cult figure. I have drawn these people to me. Look how much power I have." But on the one-to-one, when he meets them individually and has to confront, what is this group made up of? What are your fans like? It freaks him out. Notice how none of the front row Joes get to set foot in Mar-a-Lago.
No.
Oh, there's a kitty with a big foot sticking out.
She doesn't know what to do with herself.
Understood.
What are you doing this foot?
It's okay. It's all right. We're a family and pet friendly show. It just happens. So I want to make that abundantly clear that his social hierarchy beliefs about women also pertain to everyone else in his life. And it's why, by the way, that everybody around him with any sense of ethics, even if you and I don't like their ethics, if they have one, they're automatically suspect. Because whatever that standard is, he's going to break it.
Yep.
You don't have to be a liberal or a progressive or a Democrat for him to cross your ethical lines. Because he did it to Kelly. He did it to Rex Tillerson. He did it to Bill Barr, for crying out loud, who did everything he could to run interference. And even still, he managed to cross their red line. And now those people are worse than you and I, Johnny Million. If he had to make a list of the people to enact his presidential revenge against first, you and I would be way down on the list, way after most of the people in his cabinet, half the people in his campaign, everybody who used to be a spokesperson for him but no longer is, right? He'd be exhausted before he got to us. It'd be day 5 of the Mayan heart purge, right? So that is an ongoing issue with him, and it all boils down to being treated like a normal person is anathema to him, not because he even knows what that feels like, but because of his opinion about normal people.
Yeah, equality feels like oppression to the privileged.
That's right. Well, equality feels like oppression to the privileged that don't recognize that they worked for half of it and had a leg up. Most people, I think, and this is where like the Obama "you didn't build that" idea is, like, your trucks for your company don't drive on roads you paved. Simmer down. The idea that you were bootstrapping when you built, even like Elon Musk, great example. Elon Musk, is SpaceX making great advances? Absolutely. Could they have done it without the existence of the Apollo or the Gemini program or the space shuttle or the initial building of the ISS? Absolutely not. They are building everything that they have done on top of taxpayer-funded, democratic taxation choices that we have decided we wanted to have happen from Kennedy forward. And without it, there is no Elon Musk. We also, you and I would presume, voted in Obama. And in his salvaging of the big 3 American car companies, also added in financial support for electric car companies. Right? Remember that? Does everybody remember? That was one of the things. You can't pick winners and losers. Well, guess what? If you consider Elon Musk a winner, right-wingers, then that's one of the winners that Obama picked. because Tesla was one of those companies that got funding specifically under the bailout. Without the Obama bailout package, including electric car companies, which Republicans fought against, there is no Tesla as it stands right now. It's another DeLorean company. And that's a crucial piece of what people understand. And so somebody who recognizes that I'm in a position of privilege both because of my hard work and I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That's how all life works. That's how families work. You're only alive because of what your ancestors did, what they were able to get through, and what they might have done that was sketchy to get you, keep themselves alive and their offspring alive, going back to when there were only, a spattering of us and Neanderthals, right? And so everybody's standing on that. If that doesn't happen, your whole line vanishes, right?
Yep.
So we all know this. We all live in this. We all operate in this, except for the Trump followers who seem to believe that he was hatched from a golden egg, and he is more than happy to let these idiots believe that. However, it gets really hard to maintain that myth, and we're about to take a break, when you are nodding off in court during jury selection, the most crucial aspect of the court case, because all the other details learned, while you are falling asleep, you are unable to control your anus. and all the stories that they have heard about you smelling bad, about you wearing a diaper, which everybody is going to be looking back at those pictures of him with his weird puffy pants on backwards in some cases, which is super weird, like somebody else zipped his pants for him and all that kind of stuff. Those folks are going to have to, that little nugget, that little thought they drag around behind them. They don't like it. It makes them mad when they even have to think about it. They blame liberals for having to think that Donald Trump soils himself like fat bastard all the time, right? They hate having to think about that, but that little acorn is growing into the mighty oak in their head, and soon it will break through the ground, and there will be a giant tree of reality. I don't know how far to carry this analogy. I'm the fruit of it will fall off and hit them on the head, and they'll have a Newton moment. Maybe that worked. I'll let that stand. We'll be back right after this.
All right, I realized what was wrong. Let me see what happens if I can.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
I know words. I have the best words. An enormous, really an enormous.
There we go.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges.
Mm-hmm.
Deliberately, willfully, and with total premedication.
I know words. I have the best words.
Free health care for illegal. Look. To be a stank singer.
Here I am like an idiot.
Would I approve water
Yesterday's a hard word for me. Illegal. Look. Very large brain. Combat infantrymen.
I listened to this podcast that reads reviews that have been posted online, and one of them was about a calendar, like a quote a day of Trumpisms.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman reviewed it like, my husband likes Trump, so I got this for him, but this makes him sound like an idiot.
Oh no!
To be a stank singer.
They don't like the
because
gas.
they're
Coming back in 20.
Right.
I know words. I have the best words.
Criminal. Look. Wait. Look.
Obama.
And of course, our two most favorites right now.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Ah.
Our army man. The grand.
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I have a pretty good happy ending at the end of the day today. I'm very excited actually to get there, and it's computer related, as you might imagine with my name. Um, I'm named after a computer. For those of you that don't know, my name HAL is short for High Order Assembly Language, which is the root name of it. I like to think of me as your human AI liaison, making your transition to AI all the smoother. But I think, for the record, Donald Trump was warning us. You know how he not only does he project, he often will have moments where he will have Freudian slips to warn you about his stinky poo-poo nature. You know, Johnny Million?
Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you doing?
Pro-terrorism was a dead giveaway.
What you doing?
Yeah, what you do. And of
Stink
course,
sanctuary.
yeah, obviously he warned us.
Stink sanctuary.
There's a sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
And then now I think a lot of people are worried that, not worried, but assuming that this famous moment where he glitched out, he was actually pooing.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Right. That it was just that he lost control at that moment.
Wow,
That's where
and
that
I
sound
mean, to
came
his
from.
credit, he kept making noises. He didn't just get
Don't
silent
touch
and
my
go,
hands because they're dirty.
Okay. Right.
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
Yeah.
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
It's a thing.
And his lovely wife, Carrot.
Oh, yes. He does have the best words.
I have the best words. An enormous, really an enormous.
They throw lots of hard objects, and rarely does anything happen.
So,
The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well.
What? What happened there?
that was excerpts from his post January 6th mea culpa, where he was trying to salvage his image and he didn't want to do it, and yeah, so he messes
Combat
up a bunch of words.
infantrymen.
I know words. I have the best words.
What's not to like? So
PP2.
all right, so the
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
I agree. All right, so it's just at a certain point I thought I was going to run out. I thought there were only going to be a few after
do things with his thumb that you wouldn't believe.
Action replays in magnified fortune. They don't like the gas. Michigan gave us Motown. Gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang.
I know words. I have the best words.
Absolutely. No question. Then, of course, the classic.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Carrot.
Do you know that they sent a safe cracker to his house for the raid?
Even brought a safe cracker.
It's true. There was
Wow.
They sent a safe
They
cracker.
meant
Even brought
business.
a safe cracker.
Yeah. So and he was a private business
I
people.
was a private business people.
He was a I don't know if you know that about. Before he was a politician, he was a private business people.
I was a private business people.
I always get overheated when I laugh too hard.
Oh, it's good.
God,
By
hell.
the way, and for the record, I think he wants most of the jury to be nullified because
They don't like the gas.
I think that's the main reason. So I mean, there is no. Can we just, after all the tumultuous crap that guy puts us through, I think every so often it's okay to let off a little steam and remind everybody that not only is he a moron who cannot even protect his own self-interest, but he does not indeed have
I know words. I have the best words.
the best words by or a large brain.
Very large brain.
A brain.
A brain.
I'm just saying, if you have a large brain, it would not attack you while you're saying large brain and not allow the words to
Did you see that the clip from the deposition where he's saying, so you don't recall saying that you have the best memory? No, I don't.
No, I don't remember that. He also, keep in mind, he thought E. Jean Carroll was Marla.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He mistook. He said, first of all, she's not my type, and then mistook her for his wife. Let me say that again for people in the cheap seats out there. He said E. Jean Carroll was not attractive enough for him to sexually assault, was not his type, and then mistook her for his wife in a picture from the exact same time period. Not years later, not that she's older and Marla a younger picture. Marla, they were the same age at the same time. Yeah. So yeah.
Despite these obstacles, Karen.
Obstacles is a very difficult word.
Despite these obstacles, Karen.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a rough one.
They sacrifice every day for the furniture, the future.
Here I am like an idiot.
Dude.
Now
he's reading.
Yeah. Right.
I felt really good almost after taking it.
I don't know. Figure that
one out. Is he talking about ivermectin?
Yes. No, he's talking about the MABs. He's talking about the monoclonal antibodies. Almost after taking it means you didn't take it. I felt really good before you took it. Listen to that again.
Oh, almost after.
I felt really good almost after taking it.
Mm-hmm. Now, understood that when he is on drugs, sometimes he will have difficulty with names that should be normal.
Christopher Columbus, Christopher, huh?
Wow.
Huh? Yeah, you never heard that one before?
No.
We should just play how many
on his side, lifting him up. Yeah, that's right. Get that name we've all been hearing since we were 5 years old wrong.
How about this one?
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
That is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly true.
Yes, yeah. Turned out, again,
they're not pro-crime enough.
I can't. Yeah, that's his problem right now.
They keep ruling against him.
Yeah, exactly. Or he doesn't get some of his pro-crime judges, darn it. I put all these pro-crime judges on there who are supposed to protect me.
Pro-crime.
Right.
I'm criming.
Right. And ultimately...
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
He meant explosive in terms of fire.
This isn't the let's read the book school.
This isn't the...
This isn't let's read the book school.
To me, Corona means Italy.
To me, Corona means Italy. For those of you that don't know, Corona beer, Verona, Italian city. Verona, Italy. Corona, not in Italy. Not Italy. Not Italy.
To me, Corona means Italy.
To no one, Corona means Italy. As a matter of fact, I think there's
you're preventing people from being able to drink their coffee right now because of all the spit that are happening.
Oh yeah. Well, the one that set me off on collecting these things was what's the name of the company, Johnny Million, that Hunter Biden worked for that in Ukraine that the entire case.
I'm sad to say I have no idea.
Okay. You're not about to find out.
Damn it.
Executives. So this Burmusia, they say, pronounce it Burmusia.
No. Burisma is the name of the company.
Burisma.
No one
Thank you, chat.
ever told Trump to pronounce it
the Burmusia. Exactly.
No one ever said that. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Philip Bittner will be joining us right after the break.
Phil.
Yep, he's in the background there. We'll bring him in, and hopefully my software won't crash. Hang in there. I have a new cooling system. It's gonna help. I know it.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, guys.
Hiya. So the vote is happening as we speak, my friend.
As we speak?
Yeah.
Great. Good. How is the audio?
It sounds great.
Yours sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
Oh, did it already pass?
3 years ago, the United States caught in a stupor of isolationism closed its eyes as the rest of the world fell into deep conflict. There is no killing field on earth like Ukraine.
Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound
no,
like it.
No, that started. No, that started from the top. That was them starting from the top. So we will check real quick.
Right. Floor left me present. I got to scoop the box.
Okay, and I'll bring in Phil while we're doing this. That's good.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Some guys have all the luck. I don't know that.
So it's literally happening right now.
Well, it literally happened, I think.
Is it? I mean,
that's what we're gonna find out. I
gotta
look it up.
Once they put it to the floor, all they have to do is vote.
In theory, there you are.
I don't see a headline.
It might just be that the amendment process has ended, and then the bigger vote will happen.
Maybe, yeah.
It has not happened yet. Thank you, guys.
Midas Sue says it hasn't happened.
If it
actually
it'll be after lunch, more than likely. Yeah.
Yeah, there would be headlines all over the place.
Yeah, the amendments are just dying. That's the Republican.
Yeah. Doing all that procedural stuff.
Exactly. Okay, this works. Great.
That's all right. That's how it works. Yeah. It's fine.
Yep.
Can't be stopped.
Nope.
No. So it's going to happen. Thank God.
Yes. This is yeah, so
I haven't seen a lot of the news today.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, a lot of it is happening as we speak.
Right.
Again, this will be pivotal.
This is. I mean, we could talk about the Tupolev that got shot down. We could talk about.
Yeah, that was huge.
Oh, we should talk about Georgia. We should talk about Georgia if we can squeeze it in.
Okay. Not the state, the country. Yes.
Yes, the Republic of Georgia, where they're having massive protests now. It's when the center cannot hold, and it's starting to fray. I mean, like, I'm not going to go into it on air, but they pulled out of Armenia as well. Their peacekeeping, quote unquote, peacekeeping troops left Armenia as well. The empire is crumbling.
Yep. Couldn't happen to a nicer set of folks, and Marge knows it. Marge knows it. They they were hoping that this vote wouldn't come around, and that their stooges in the House would run interference on it and keep it going, but they just couldn't make it happen.
Nope.
Which is a good thing. Let's see. Let me put this in here.
Hello. I had to change. I was too warm.
Turn this into airplane mode after I saw Stephanie Rule. I have to answer her phone in the middle of a broadcast. I was like, oh, how unprofessional.
That was hilarious. Yeah. Hey, she's got kids.
Thank you.
Don't
care. No, that's unprofessional.
Well, it ultimately wasn't who that was, and your phone has the ability to, and you have a staff to help you deal with something if it's an emergency.
I would have caught hell. I would have caught hell.
Well, right, but it's her show.
Yeah,
it's her show. If she was a guest on, one of the other things, then she would have caught out.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Well, welcome to the show, Philip Ittner, who is live in Kiev right now, back in front of his painting of Olga of Kiev, the storied patron saint of feminine revenge.
Vengeance and defiance.
Yeah, right. For those of you that don't know the story, we've told it a couple of times, and it just gets better every time I think about it. Johnny Million is still with us, and he's going to be farming questions from our chat room that we will present to Phil over what's been going on there. But right out of the gate, there were a couple of stories that I knew I would want to talk about, and we are waiting. News is unfolding as you were on the air today, Phil, as it was last Wednesday when we were talking, that they not only they dropped the actual text of the funding for the Ukraine bill that came through, and we glanced through it, all very positive. It is going to pass in its in the same form, if not slightly better than we saw before. Certainly not diminished. And that's a great thing. It will more than likely pass by the end of the day, and the president will sign it, as far as I know, immediately, if not first thing in the morning. All the gear and stuff is already being gathered. All the they are presuming the passage. They have already whipped this, which is good.
And Army logistics are, I mean, say what you want about the massive scale of the U.S. military and just like, you know, how complex things get when they want to make stuff happen, when they want to get something from point A to point B, they can make it happen. I was embedded in the U.S. military in the during the invasion of Iraq, and I saw that buildup. When they want to move, they can move. Additionally, so I suspect that they have a lot of the equipment that because it's mostly ammunition that is needed urgently. I suspect that that's been stockpiled. A buddy of mine who is follows the open source intel about like air traffic. There's a regional airport in Poland that's been seeing a massive uptick in flights coming in.
Activity.
Cargo plane sized transponders going into this little regional airport, like a jump of 25 times as normal, what they normally do. This is a little regional Polish airport. Clearly they have been stocking stuff up so that when the green light happens, they can get that ammunition in. Now, distribution to the front lines, that's going to be a different thing. But when they want to make things happen, they can. It does happen. It does happen. And the other significant thing is, of course, for these Ukrainian air defense forces or the guys at the artillery positions on the front lines, they've been, as the old saying goes, keeping their powder dry. For a very long time, they have been trying to eke out their existing stockpiles because they didn't know when the next trench was going to come in, when the tap was going to be turned back on. So what will immediately happen after this vote takes place is that the Ukrainians will know, okay, we know more missile systems, we know more artillery shells are coming imminently. We don't have to second guess every single thing that we do, and the usage of our munitions, which has been really a strain on Ukrainian defenses. So that's
a terrible decision to have to make in a situation where your life is on the line, or the people behind you's life is on the line. And in this, so this is an article I have up on screen at infotainmentwars.com, and of course at twitch.tv/HalSparks, and on the Facebook page, or on X, as it were, if you're watching there as well. Hit that like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff that I'm supposed to say as a streaming person. But this article says the Pentagon has already packed all the, quote, gifts for the Ukrainian armed forces and is just waiting for the go-ahead from the U.S. political leadership to hand them over to Ukrainians. Ukraine will receive the first shipment of weapons from the United States in less than a week after the U.S. Congress passes a new aid program for Kiev and President Biden signs the law. U.S. officials spoke to the Washington Post on the condition of anonymity. This is from
I will bet you dollars for donuts that whoever the Washington Post spoke to was speaking conservatively. I am willing to bet you that the munitions that are just on the other side of the border in Poland, that like immediately, the second the vote passes, they will start to get the gears going to get that stuff, because these are professionals. They know what they're doing. They know one of the most powerful tools in the U.S. military's arsenal isn't bombs. It's logistics. It's actually getting things deployed. They know how to do this. So the second that vote passes, we're going to start to see trains move, trucks move. It's going to get going. And it's long overdue. This has been really bad. And it's cost a lot of Ukrainian lives. But ultimately, this is going to, this will take us through the election. That's the most of the American election. So that's the most important thing, is the kind of like question of what's going to happen. Is America going to continue to support the war effort here? That will, be resolved in November. Hopefully, and I am confident in saying it will result in a pro-Ukrainian POTUS president. That I don't think it's going to be Trump. In other words,
I don't either. But I'll tell you one thing.
I don't either.
I will say this for all the people in the back who think that somehow Trump is going to save them from the evil Mike Johnson, who's all of a sudden he was running against Ukraine aid and now he's all of a sudden for it. I got news for you. Trump will ultimately, if he was in that position, would have done the exact same thing. Like at this point, going forward, not when he was in. If Russia had attacked while he was still president the first time around, he would have had the leeway to give himself, space to like hold back NATO and all this kind of stuff. Now this extra scrutiny and the people around him, he would just go. It looks weak if we just let them blah blah blah, or they're gonna once he's done with you, once Putin wins this, he's done. He doesn't need you anymore, and your life's in danger. Enough people telling him that, which would make him rule, even if he wasn't 100% behind Ukraine and the support wasn't fully there. Any support will be seen as a giant betrayal by the MTGs of the world, and that's not going to change. So the fact that he doesn't bend over backwards immediately. Yeah,
because Russia has infiltrated our body politic.
Yeah,
and you're probably right, Hal, when you talk about a second Trump administration, and that it's not as simple as he would just be a Manchurian candidate, but who knows? Because the guy is beholden to Moscow. There's no doubt in my mind, but that Trump is compromised by Russia for a variety of reasons. So who knows how bad it, but I think it's a moot point because I'm confident he's not going to win. And two, this amount of money coming to Ukraine right now at this really crucial juncture is going to change the course of the war. The F-16s will be here shortly, with or without the vote. So that's happening no matter what, and that's going to be a big deal. But the vote will go through, and when it does, Ukraine will be able to mount a defense and hopefully, ultimately, an offense. But what it means, in no small measure, and I've been discussing this with friends and colleagues here, there will be a Ukraine after this war. There will be a Ukraine that includes Odessa and Kharkiv. Russia does not have the capacity to take major cities in Ukraine. And it will be a defeat. Russia is facing defeat. War is a tricky mistress, as I say often, and things could certainly go sideways. But this boost in the arm right now, during this really difficult period, is a huge sea change shift, and we'll see what the Ukrainians do with it.
I still have faith that there will be a Ukraine with Crimea, and that ultimately the collapse that's coming to the Soviet Union, the former Soviet socialist republics that Russia wants to claim as their territories again, is a dead dream, even as much as they scream about it even more. Let's take a break real quick, and we'll come back with questions. And I also want to talk to you about what's going on in Georgia right now and in Armenia, because these are Russian satellites again that are,
this isn't just
off
Ukraine.
This
is the death of Russian Empire.
Right. Russia is still trying to enact its empirical control over these places with fewer and fewer resources, and it's got a real 1700s kind of a failure stink on it.
It does.
We'll talk about that when we come back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Follow Philip Ittner on YouTube, and of course, Ittner Philip on X, and we'll be back right after this.
They're screwed.
Yep.
Yeah, they are. It's okay. It's better for them as well, ultimately.
Yeah, well, I'm bring up a couple of things. Um, dun dun dun. My ring light decided to blink for a second. There it is. Okay, and the TU-22M3 crashes. I mean, I gotta say, of the things falling out of the sky, like I've seen a couple of the helicopters that were downed and the like, but the image of this guy is pretty stunning.
Oh yeah.
Like, there is no question what that is and where it's going. The pilot, they couldn't find the pilot. The wreckage is pretty enormous. But they couldn't find the pilot, and they didn't see a parachute. So the idea is that either he didn't bug out, or there wasn't one, which is another issue where they may be drone flying some of their planes for lack of pilots.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chicago.
Because Russia's been proud of that fact for a long time. Thanks, Chicago.
Or he bought it when he got hit.
When it got hit, right? That's more than likely what happened.
A lot of debris flying around. When you get hit by a thing like that, and it doesn't take a lot to take a human.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. Hit that like if you would, and that lets people know we're out live streaming. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We're heading towards 100K, bit by bit, slowly, but we're going there, and it's a good time. And if you're on Twitch, think about subscribing. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. And Johnny Million, I know we have some questions that are already there for Phil, but I know Phil wanted to address what was going on in Georgia and Armenia specifically. Because
Armenia less so. Right. I'm not an expert on Nagorno-Karabakh, but I did see that the Russian quote-unquote peacekeeping forces have withdrawn from Armenia, which is just an example of Moscow's lessening grip on its former empire. But more notably is what's happening in Georgia. And what's happening in Georgia is that okay, so I'll try and get this as briefly as I can, is that basically Moscow has implemented a puppet government in Tbilisi for quite some time, and they have tried to implement a law which is almost a clone of the law that exists in the Russian Federation, where groups have to announce any
register their intent,
relationship with Western, in particular Western NGOs and companies and things like that. Well, the Georgian people have said that's just an excuse to that's a pretext to then say, oh, you're working for the West and therefore you're a traitor, and so we're going to jail you, which is how it's been used in the Russian Federation.
Right.
So they took to the streets, and the Georgian people have been mounting street protests for the better part of a week now, in support of joining the West. So it's a big deal because that Georgia is one of those countries within the Russian Empire that they're particularly proud of. It's the cornerstone of their power structure within the Caucasus. The Caucasus are an isthmus that exists kind of north of Iran, between the Black Sea and I guess it would be the Aral Sea. I don't have my map right in front of me, but regardless, it's this isthmus that exists where Catherine the Great, the imperial architect of Russian Empire, they kind of, well, actually it wasn't Catherine there, but it was, anyhow, regardless.
Yeah.
This is Russian history. It gets muddled.
It does.
Actually, that was later. That was the 19th. I think it was Alexander the First who took the Caucasus. But regardless, doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is that they have these little strategic bulwarks from the Russian Empire, and they're starting to fray. And it was all built on the most important cornerstone of their empire, which is here in Ukraine. So when that starts to erode, other sections of the fringes of their empire, and it includes also like Central Asia, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and all those.
Yeah.
This is also one of these sections where they've built this little choke point where they have their empire, and it's in the case of Georgia and the process we're seeing happening right now. It's another example that Putin's adventurism has played very badly, and the empire is only it was kind of an all-in sort of thing with him when he came to Ukraine, and so the failure here for him to secure empire means that the rest of the empire is fraying even more quickly and drastically. So
Right.
keep
And
an eye on Georgia. Watch what's
yeah.
happening there because it's all connected.
Right. And for those like we've had like an anti-foreign influence kind of like disinformation squad that the White House was trying to set up, and Republicans balked at this idea because they felt like it was Americans' freedom of speech was being decried. Instead of Americans will be informed whether the source they're getting is from a real American, an American living abroad, a foreigner who just cares about our system and wants to put their 2 cents in, and a government strategy to undermine the social cohesion of a country they consider to be a rival on the world stage, if not an enemy. And that distinction, that final distinction, is why you need something like this. That's why it's valuable. The Russians have taken this idea and have started to implement it under the guise of protecting these kind of things, when they really are, because technically they control the Georgian government, that Russian influence is not considered foreign influence, even though Georgia is technically still a sovereign country.
Yep.
Russians would not, the Kremlin would not have to go through all these hoops that NGOs that support gay rights or women's rights or democracy in the rest of the world would have to do. And therefore, that you'd have to hand over your address, the list of people that work for you, all that kind of stuff, over to the Russian sock puppets that are in the Georgian government right now. And that's the big concern. So this is the second night of, I think, violent clashes that Georgians are pushing back on this. The irony is that at some point they might want a law like this, but it would have to include protections specifically against Russia. If it was an all-in bill, this wouldn't happen. But in particular, it was meant to allow Russia to basically create an information cul-de-sac in Georgia and all of its satellite countries, and make sure that they're not talked into thinking they should be free by the mean old West, who's coming around telling your girlfriend that she deserves better than beatings and having her self-esteem ruined, and that she can do better in the world, and so you cut her off with her friends so that she doesn't actually realize her worth and go find someone who's a better mate. It's the abusive boyfriend systemology of the Russian government. Let's grab a question, if I could, Johnny.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've got one from Tabitha, and this is a little off topic, but have the Ukrainian people seen coverage of the Trump criminal trial?
Well, I mean, they're aware of it. They're very savvy and are watching closely, but it's they also have a war going on here. But they're paying attention. They're paying attention because they know it will affect them.
Yeah.
What happens in November? So yeah, they're paying attention.
And ultimately, that's the only thing. It's more of a binary, and they probably worry about how that binary is going to go, just like a jump ball in any situation. But until it happens, what their biggest problem is, up till now, has been the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world and other people running interference on stuff right now. Yeah. So,
so this is from Alan B. Phil, what is the electricity status in Kiev?
So far, so good. We lost a major power plant to the south that it's going to just have to be replaced. But thankfully, it's summer, spring and summer. So it's not the demand will not be that hard. But for now, touch wood, we're not having any blackouts or anything like that.
Awesome.
as I say, touch wood.
Right. Cool. Let's grab another one, Johnny.
Sure thing. This is from Lindsay Leiter. Phil, what do you think about Trump meeting with Duda?
Yeah, disappointing, frankly. Duda is a weird guy. He's a little he's hard to pin down. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he is a right wing conservative politician, and he speaks to an audience in Poland that is a very retentionist and you know, what look overwhelmingly in Poland they are against Moscow, but they have their own internal politics, which are in many ways kind of aligned with white Christian nationalism and the far right. So it's disappointing to see him go and talk to a former president with almost kind of like a hat in hand kind of attitude. But look, it's a sovereign state. He is the head of state. He gets to decide what he wants to do.
Right.
I think there will be a lot of people in Poland who will be pretty offended by that. But you know, it's tricky. It's really
there's
tricky
also an
'cause
element
there have
of
been a lot of
keep your friends close and your enemies closer, and letting
Sure.
especially if you're dealing with an
Hedge your
egoist.
bets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're dealing with an egoist like Trump or with Putin, there's a question about whether Putin is conniving against everyone around him at all times and is the agent he was under the KGB, and so nothing is to be believed, and so therefore even when you're talking to him, you're not talking to him, you're talking to his agenda, and so therefore nobody meets with him as a friend, nobody meets with him as a partner, because even he only decides whether you're a partner or not after he's given the order to spray something in your face while you walk down the street. So there's a weird aspect of him as a leader of humanity. But there's also the ego idea that he is still an aging hedonist on top of all this, just like Trump is, and this, his own self-worth or whatever this week, if he's worried about his legacy, and next week he won't care, but the week after that he'll be back to caring about it. You have a window where you could probably talk some sense into him, is the diplomatic theory. This has been tried in many different areas over history, and sometimes it works. Oftentimes it doesn't.
In
but
Poland, look, there's no getting around it. Poland has been the victim of an intensive information war project by Moscow, because Moscow recognizes that one of the best ways to divide the Western alliance is there's a weak point in the chain when it comes to Poland for a variety of reasons, and it's very complex. But it's clear that Moscow intends to destabilize Poland and has been doing so for quite some time. So there are elements within Poland that have been compromised and that have been
built up by Russia for the last couple of decades, because that was the plan.
Well, this is the thing. This is why we have to recognize in the West, and we're kind of Johnny come latelys, especially in America when it comes to this issue, is the fact that Russia for a long time has been starting to push back, and most notably in its intelligence warfare and this kind of information warfare techniques, and it is definitely destabilized the West. We are weakened. Look at Marjorie's talking points. I mean, the tweets that she was. I mean, I saw yesterday when she got all crazy about Johnson and the vote. Putting out tweets about Transcarpathia, and I'm like. Marjorie, you don't even know where that is. You don't know the So Transcarpathia is this little separatist movement in Moldova, and it's a whole thing with Russia.
Yeah.
But she has no idea. I would be willing to bet the farm on the fact that she has no idea the complexities of that issue, and yet
I think
she's
they are
tweeting it out because somebody gave it to her.
Yes.
Somebody has been feeding her. And
speaking to which, there is a vote happening right now. On
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Hold on one second. Looks pretty good. The video is pretty terrible, but right now, as I can see it, it looks like it's going the right way. So
one would hope.
Majority Party amendment. Okay, no, okay, they're voting on her amendment, which is being voted down right now. It's 240 to 59. So they are finalizing these votes. So we'll keep track of that as we go. Let's take a break, and when we come back, this may be the final vote on that, and then the vote on the actual bill itself, because I think that's the only one that's actually carried to the floor. Yeah. So we'll see right after this. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Go to this better link. Yeah, see if this feed is happening. You go. Okay, went to there. This is this business.
Such a relief. Such a relief.
So green resolution on okay. So
did you see her takedown with Schneider?
Which one? Sorry.
With Schneider, with Timothy Schneider.
No.
Oh, you've got to look that up.
Okay. So agreeing to the resolution is voting right now 313 to 94. No vote 24.
We're back in 20.
Thank you. For HRES 1160. I don't know if that isn't the full funding bill yet. Let me check real quick.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Okay, so right now we have the vote has passed to at least table the bills, so they will be brought to a vote without these amendments attached. There was this other vote on Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment, which was voted down enormously. But HRES 1160, which is providing for the consideration of the bills, HR 8034, which is Israel appropriation supplemental, HR 8035, which is the Ukrainian supplemental, and HR 8036, which is the Indo-Pacific security supplemental, which is seen as the Taiwan part of the funding, and HR 8038, the 21st Century Peace Through Strength Act, which is the initial supplemental the additional supplemental funding for the military that they had requested, that they're all tied together. This is another situation where Republicans are going like, they wanted these all separated out so they could get what they wanted and kill what they didn't, and just by not bringing them to the floor. Because if they brought them to the floor, they would pass by, a large number. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. They had 316 votes to 94. 165 Democrats voted yes. 151 Republicans voted yes. 55 Republicans voted no. 39 Democrats voted no. And then there were 21 overall not voting. 12 Republicans who didn't vote, 9 who didn't, to agree to bring these votes to the floor presently. So that is what we are sort of seeing right now play out. The next up, I believe they just voted down Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment right after it. I'm scrolling through this, but this seems to be beg your pardon, that was right before it. So that has just passed. They will bring all three of these bills up to the floor, and because they know they have the votes. And the votes will be, I would guess, pretty similar on all of them. Israel might have some fluctuation of more Republicans than the Ukrainian one, unless, a couple of Democrats who are holding their nose and not voting for it, and that, protest votes, as it were. But it looks like pretty much that's the direction that we're headed.
Conversations.
I'll keep that open in the background while it happens. But they seem to be gathering and getting ready for, hold on, wait, she might be reading the content.
Congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the National Labor Relations Board relating to standard for determining joint employer status.
Okay, so they're also voting on other stuff while everybody's present. So that's these will be the tabled votes for the day, and then they will vote on the actual things. Like these are the resolutions as to whether to bring them to the floor. It is already past that hurdle. Insofar as we can tell, by all measures, these bills will come to the floor and they will get a vote, and that was all they needed. That is all they needed. They needed just to be brought to the floor.
Never say never, but I think it's it's a safe bet.
Yes,
that it'll pass.
And the audio was very hot from the other thing, but they did not have a that I had to crank their source up because it was silent up to a point, because someone there is riding the fader as a part when someone speaks and when someone doesn't, and so beg your pardon for that, a little bit of a blitz, but that's the current state of the news. So that's really good news right now. And in terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene's vote, it just fell on its face. So
yeah, of course it did. It was a joke.
Yeah. And let's grab it. Yeah, exactly. Let's grab another question while this is playing out, and we very well may see
this
them.
is from Nick Rich. Phil, when does the podcast start?
Imminently.
Right.
Probably when the studio's finished. We just have to start conducting interviews. So I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks,
Nice.
10 days.
And in the same vein, Tam Jules wants to know, are there a number of war correspondents in Ukraine, and what trustworthy journalists should we listen to about the war updates, including yourself?
There are. The press corps, though, is a shadow of its former self. They've by and large left. They're still here, though. There's still journalists doing their best to try and get stuff out. It's who would I recommend? I mean, I don't go to the front lines, so I'm trying to figure out who actually goes forward. Would be good to watch. Boy, it's tough because this has been a neglected story for quite some time. So, when was the last time you saw a headline, from Ukraine? It's been totally overshadowed by other events. God, who would? I know New York Times is looking for a new person here.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better. My buddy Stefan Korshak over at the Kiev Post, who talks about military matters, is a former U.S. Army.
I loved him on Welcome Back, Kotter.
Check him out. Look, citizen journalism has become a much bigger thing here as well. So, there are lots of people running around like Dylan Burns. Who else? But it's sad that I have to rack my brain like this because I shouldn't have to.
Right.
This
well, that's
is
the thing
that
is that there should be
in your front pages. Yeah.
Right. It should be, you should have some star reporters there covering this, and hopefully they will very soon. Obviously, the situation
over at NBC, I have deep respect for Richard Ingalls. I've known Richard for 20 some odd years.
He's a good guy.
I may not always agree with him, but he's a competent journalist, a very competent journalist, and is also knowledgeable about the region. So he's somebody to pay attention to. Simon Ostrovsky has kind of been missing in action for a while. I'll tell you who's good to watch on the other side of the battle lines is over in Russia. My pal Steve Rosenberg at the BBC is a very fair-handed guy when it comes to the conflict, and I'm glad he's still in Moscow because we still need a voice on the other side of the equation. Luke Harding I like, Luke is he's not here right now, but John Sweeney, my buddy, is knowledgeable about things. He does a daily kind of
update about it.
Update about it. But there should be more journalists here, and there aren't, and that's not good.
Agreed. Let me show you something real quick while we've got the audience here in this regard. This is that Su-22 falling out of the sky, and anybody who's watching it from home can see that this is not one of these questionable pieces of video where they're like, is it really the right plane? Are we sure? Nope, we're sure. It got hit in the tail, and it just was. And by the way, there is a goose at the bottom of the
strategic bomber. That's a strategic bomber that one of the worst things that has happened in this period where we have neglected, and I'm sorry, I can be more polite about that, but we have neglected to provide Ukraine with air defense. And because of it, there are planes like that Tupolev 22 that has been dropping what are called glide bombs, and they're a brute force weapon that has some rudimentary controls, and they can be dropped by those planes, and then they glide in and they drop massive payloads. Hundreds of kilos of munitions get dropped on Ukrainian cities by these things. So to see that getting knocked out is a really good thing. But it shouldn't. Towns like Kharkiv or Kherson or Dnipro, they should not have lost huge apartment stretches, stretches of apartment buildings because of these glide bombs, for lack of the fact that they don't have air defense, or they're reluctant to use what resources they have because they don't know when things are coming next. This vote will change that, and we will see increased air defense, not only in against civilian centers and cities and the electrical grid and the infrastructure here, but also for the front line. So this is a big deal, this vote today, and we're also seeing the delivery already of F-16s. So I'm reluctant to be too optimistic about this, because we've been disappointed in the past, but it may be that the dark period that we have gone through, we may be climbing out of it, and it will reinforce the friendship and the relationship between the United States, the West, and Ukraine, and that's a good thing.
Well, and also recognize that we have a similar situation. Yeah, we have a similar situation that Ukraine has gone through when they had their sock puppets that were running their government and trying to scuttle its democracy, and Paul Manafort played a part in that. Donald Trump wants to bring him back on board as part of his campaign, specifically around that. Andrea, and just to let me know that the TikTok ban has passed in the House. It will go to the Senate, and more than likely will pass the Senate. The only people running against it there, I think, are one progressive senator who views themselves against it, and a couple of Republicans who are against it for, the CCP should have free speech rights that Americans don't, kind of part. But the Kiev Post is announcing that all amendments to the bill providing aid to Ukraine that would have reduced the assistance to Ukraine were rejected in the U.S. House before the final vote. So that has happened.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah,
that's not a surprise. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but it's we're checking off these specific, successes in this regard. It's important,
and it's interesting. That TikTok thing is interesting to discuss as well, because again, while it's not my area of expertise, I can say, as a journalist, as somebody who advocates for free speech and for the freedom of the press. I have also learned over the years that there is a differentiation between freedom of the press and information warfare.
Right.
And those from autocratic systems that want to see harm done to Western liberal democracies know that one of the best tools that they can use is our own sense of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. So they attack it. and we have to find the very precarious equilibrium of providing freedom of the press and freedom of information and freedom of speech with recognizing that information can be weaponized. So we have to find.
Well, it's
and I think
again,
that's
if you believe democracy dies in darkness, you don't let someone like Vladimir Putin control the switch.
Yeah,
that's the issue. The light that they're talking about and the darkness they're talking about in that regard is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. It is a human-made situation, or a situation where I guess you have lack of information, but certainly the manipulation or the hiding of or the destruction of information or the inability to report on it is that thing. TikTok is simply an outlet for things. It is not the news itself. And the way it manipulates the news is specific to a particular goal by the CCP. This bill, for the record, by the way, does not ban TikTok flat out. They just have to sell it to an American company or have an American subsidiary that isolates its works from the work that goes on in China. And if they can't do that, then they can't operate in the United States. At a certain point, there is no differentiation between the military of the CCP and the CCP itself. The PLA is not the People's Liberation Army. It is the army of the Communist Party in China. It does not represent the people. That's why they can use military force against the people itself. It is the people who support the CCP's army, but no one else's. And if you stand up against it, it's suddenly not your arm anymore. That's not how the United States works. That's not how our Constitution works. And therefore, that's not how our companies are allowed to work. And theirs are. As a matter of fact, that's their mandate. So if they sold it to another company in the United States that ran it based on an algorithm that was based on reality and not their attempts to destroy, the fabric of society from within, then there obviously is no problem. And again, it's just an outlet. It is not the news itself. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Hit that like while you're at it. Let people know we're here. We're getting near that 3,500 4K number, depending on which site I'm looking at the time, of people in the chat. And I know you're sitting back there. I know you're there. I can feel you. I can't actually see you, but some of you I can see. And for God's sake, put some pants on. We'll be back. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that plays into the whole thing that I was mentioning in the last break, which is if you haven't seen it yet,
it just passed. Yeah. Hold on, let me bring it up real quick. Let's see.
Who, quote, do too damn much to help a Democrat, close quote.
Let me reload this, see if it can get to where it is.
Pardon me.
Folding to the cult of Donald Trump, and just hours after the 370-page text of this bill was released.
Okay, that's Nadler. Nadler, by the way, is oddly against. Weird.
Coming back in 20.
Bless you. Against
Thank you.
Well, look, quickly before we move into this, anybody who's watching, and Hal yourself, and Johnny, you should check this out. Check out the exchange between Marjorie and Professor Snyder about Ukraine. He rips her a new one because she is a victim of this information warfare, and he just clarifies.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy.
Oh, no.
Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo, woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together.
We should do that to Kate.
Cloudy or stormy.
We're having a good
I'll
time.
there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning.
Wait.
I hope that you like cereal.
Yay.
So let's start out with the obvious great news. The support for Ukraine just passed 306 to 109 with 16 not voting. That is a big passage, and
that is a mandate. That is a mandate.
Yes, that is a majority by all stretches. It was 97 Republicans voting yes, 209 Democrats voting yes, 109 Republicans voting no, and 12 not voting at all. The 12 that didn't vote are the ones who would have voted yes but are afraid to. Let's just put that there. There's no
No
fear in somebody
abstentions
voting
from the
no with it.
Democrats. No.
Nope. It will be signed. It is
Wow.
passed. That is that.
There it is. That's
voila. As by the way, if I may, as I said it would.
Yeah.
When we talked on Wednesday, I told you this is how this is how it will play out. And this wailing and gnashing of teeth of the Marjorie Taylor Greens for the last 2 days and the flipping out of Chip Roy and all these other people is exactly a sign that this was going to pass. Every moment that they were on TV and they were angry. Ooh, they were mad about this.
Oh,
and
boy.
Yeah, and their anger was the best evidence you have that not only was this popular, even amongst their own constituency, even amongst their own party, but that it would pass handily once it went through.
They were going to lose.
They knew they were going to lose. They knew that if it came to the floor, they would lose. That's that. And by the way, they just put to the floor a little earlier their like H2 border bill, which is too draconian and would seal the border and kill the entire economy of Texas in an afternoon because they're morons. That got voted down by a majority even bigger than this. So let's be abundantly clear. They wouldn't vote for the conservative bill that was put together by Democrats and Republicans, but they wanted to bring the Chip Roy border bill to the floor that was very unpopular and would never pass the Senate, and it died a sad, pathetic death as well. And so let's just enjoy that fact, if we may, that it passed. HR 8035, which is the funding for Ukraine, just passed 306 to 109, 16 not voting, either because they're not there available. There were only 4 Democrats who did not vote. My guess is that they're literally not present.
And this is
because no one voted present.
This is an inflection point in the war.
Yeah.
This will change the course of this war, and it will give Ukraine a fighting chance to defend itself. They have always said, Hal, and you know this.
311 to 112. Final vote, 311 to 112. Even bigger vote. They got more.
Something had to be.
Only 7 non-voting and 1 Republican voted present.
Yeah. This, the Ukrainians have never once said, that they wanted NATO troops, or that they that all they have ever said is give us the weapons and we will do the job. And what has been lacking is the arsenal of freedom that the United States is supposed to be, which has been waylaid by a bunch of guys who have been infected by the Russian military intelligence mind worm. That is now in the past. So let's get these people the weapons that they need to defend themselves. And this is a huge development, and it's
lots of
really
talk in the
news.
chat room for this particular story about Russian GOP copium on the floor. Let's tune in real quick.
Sure, I'm sure.
There is a.
All members are reminded to observe decorum. Speakers are reminded to address the chair. And pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on the passage of H.R. 8034, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 8034, a bill making emergency supplemental appropriations to respond to the situation in Israel and for related expenses for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and for other purposes.
The question is.
By the way, the Republicans are calling for everybody to state their vote, that kind of thing. It's just a way to hang it up a little bit longer, like buying every second. But they're asking for a recorded vote in this regard, so that's what they're going through and doing this. 8034, 8035 was the first one up, I guess. They're going out of order on these in that regard. Certainly, but in this particular instance, it will pass as well.
Look, as I have mentioned in the past, and I am, I think what's happening in Israel and Gaza, having covered that region,
Yeah.
is tragic, and as is the case because people have fought over that little stretch of land for a long period of time because of religious. Let's get right to it. Religious differences. That war, that conflict in Israel, as awful and tragic as it is, and I am not minimizing that, but that is a war that is going to continue for a very long time because of the religious, ethnic, all the morass of that war.
Yep.
This war, however, could be
end.
won, and we just made a big contribution to actually a victorious Ukraine, which will change the face of Europe and it will change the face of the world. Russia is going to lose this war, and they will have to do the hard work of looking in the mirror and deciding who they are if they are not empire. And that's what we voted for today, and that's
which is great.
Good thing.
Agreed. So that and now right now the vote on Israel as a supplemental, which again has a lot of funding, and it's not just for Israel; it's also for refugees in Gaza and that are in Egypt or that are in the West Bank or that have fled to Jordan. There's a lot of support money in there and a lot of food funding, and there's extra funding that would replace the funding that was used to build the pier that Biden put in place so that they could get aid in there. Also, the French are doing airdrops of supplies, food into Gaza. A lot of that is American supplies, their airplanes, our stuff. So it is both refilling those coffers so that, as Trump would say, the cupboards are not bare, and also providing for more of those things. So again, super important. And you'll notice that the vote on this one, a lot more cut and dry even still, but not an enormous number. Maybe it'll end up being whatever, 50, 60 more votes for this one than the Ukraine bill. But, you're not in a situation where everything else is 90-10 in this. Right now it's at 354 to 56. This is the support for Israel and refugee aid for Gaza as well, which is the thing that, by the way, if you're seeing some nay votes, you're seeing Democrats who are voting against helping Israel at all, and you're seeing Republicans voting against helping the Palestinians at all. That's the hardcore side of this. Everybody else is voting like a human being who recognizes the variety of realities that are in this situation. From Zelensky. Zelensky's just released a statement. He said, "I'm grateful to the United States House of Representatives, both parties, and personally Speaker Mike Johnson for the decision that keeps history on the right track. Democracy and freedom will always have global significance and will never fall as long as America helps to," and let's see if I can bring this up entirely, this post. As long as America helps to protect it, the vital U.S. aid bill passed today by the House will keep the war from expanding, save thousands and thousands of lives, and help both our nations to become stronger. Just peace and security can only be attained through strength. We hope that bills will be supported in the Senate and sent to President Biden's desk. Thank you, America.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
They're
welcome.
going to be great allies. They're going to be really. We are
welcome,
building a
Zelensky.
relationship.
I have a Zelensky doll, and he's got a green shirt, so you can see through it on my.
He does indeed.
So very strong.
Yeah. But we're building a very good alliance and relationship with Ukraine, and
That's
it's
right.
going to be
a great.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. A great thing to end the show on. Phil, thank you so much, and I'm glad you could be here for both the announcement of this bill and the passage of it this week, especially after the last few weeks. And I look forward to what the positive stories pushing back that will happen over the next little week. Everybody check out Johnny Million on Twitch and on YouTube. He has a live stream that does music and music only. So if you need a break from all this politics, it's a great place to go. I live stream at infotainmentwars.com every day of the week, practically, except Sunday. And tomorrow, Boston Brian has his regular live stream if you want to check him out on YouTube as well.
Yay.
Friend of the show. And of course, our dear friends Texas Paul and others who have their live streams. But support these voices. And I'll see you guys next week on the radio. Thank you, Chicago.
Thanks, Chicago.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. So it's nice to be on the air for breaking news that's that positive, and after all this
What a relief.
bullshit.
What a relief.
And to ultimately, I mean, the frustrating thing for me will be that like the deaths that occurred during this holdout bullshit did not need to happen. Right.
Yep.
Didn't need to happen.
No, they did not.
The deaths in Odessa, the deaths in Kharkiv, and those other places, they could have been avoided. But for this delay, these deaths are all on Marjorie Taylor Greene and Chip Roy
and her ilk.
And the members of the Freedom Caucus that froze this in place and tried by kicking out McCarthy and putting this guy in place to delay that process. Now, interestingly enough, Matt Gaetz says all this shitty crap about Ukraine and parrots these points, but the reality is he just wanted to stop the ethics investigation into himself. So he didn't give a fuck which way this went. We're off the air now, so it's so frig. He didn't give a fuck about any of that, right? Yeah, and but he still contributed to it. He was still willing to participate.
And people
in
died.
That.
And people
died because of it. Because to protect his grotesque pedo ass, he decided that he was going to side with Vladimir Putin and limit support for Ukraine. So
screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, but it's in the past. That's behind us now. Let's move forward and let's win this war.
That's right. It will go to the Senate.
We can do
it will get voted on.
We can do
and
it. We can win this war. We can totally do it.
Good news. Andrea, thank you for putting Texas Paul's channel up. There's the real Texas Paul for those who are looking for him on there as well. We love him. And Boston Brian does his live stream on Sundays. Check him out on his channel as well. And then Phil, when do you know when the first episode of
On the Edge, the first episode of On the Edge, which I hope to have out with a interview with somebody who is deeply connected with one of the most egregious war crimes that are have happened here. I'm hoping to interview him in the coming week. We will edit it and I think probably put it out on the following Wednesday.
Right.
That's what it's looking like now.
Gorgeous.
Final vote on 8034 for Israel was 366 to 58. Final vote on the Ukrainian bill was 311 to 112.
Huh.
And Ukrainian flags were waved. The Ukrainian, the Warriors of Ukraine Telegram site and the Kiev Post are reporting that Ukrainian flags were waved on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. People were holding up their Ukrainian flags to support, which was nice.
Good.
Yeah. So it's good.
It's
We're all
done.
good.
We're gonna win.
It will pass the Senate. It will get signed by the president.
And
that
it's going to change
that.
it. And it's going to change it. It will take us through the election. And we won't look back. And
that's right.
If I am Vladimir Putin today, I am very nervous.
Also, just so you know, in the military supplemental that is included in this, there are funds for our national security interests in the Ukraine fight against Russia, which is to the tune of somewhere in the order of $9 to $12 billion, depending on how you look at it. That is effectively a hedge against Republicans trying any bullshit midsummer to try to hold up the allocation parts. If any gear needs to go and it has to be signed off by the House, there's a way to get around the delivery of those things using those funds, because it costs a lot of money to pick up a heavy piece of gear and bring it from either the United States to Ukraine or Europe to Ukraine or the Middle East to Ukraine, wherever the fuck it was. And so that money will already be allocated in that. So it's great. That's great news overall. So thanks, chat room, for being here with us. And thanks for your faith, both in me and in Phil and in Johnny Million every week. And I'm so glad I'm not wasting your time. And that, unlike Glenn Beck, everything I say is actually based in reality and comes true. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Have a great night, Phil. Go have some dinner.
I'll
see you on Wednesday.
Take
Johnny
care,
Million,
Johnny.
Love you.
You too, Phil.
All right,
go
guys.
take care of your cat. You know how I mean that.
Oh yeah, baby.
All right.
Take care,
And,
everyone.
all right. There you go. And off they go. Thanks so much, guys. What a great show today. Just in general, the feelings, the experience. And chat room, I gotta say, thank you guys so much for and I meant it, for like your faith in me, because there is no greater gift you can give a human being than your time. And I want you to know I take it very seriously, and that the biggest concern I have when I'm gathering information, or I'm making prognostications, or I'm giving you my take on something, is that I didn't waste your time with stuff that turned out to be bullshit, or wouldn't be true, or is based on just pie in the sky conjecture, or abject worry for the sake of it. So like I said on Wednesday, I was like, hey, it's going to come to the floor, because I could tell how mad these motherfuckers are in all these clips I've been watching, and that the vote's going to happen on Saturday. It will pass. That will not be amended by any of these dipshits, and lay it out exactly as I said it was. So add that, another check on the trust side of the box for yours truly, both for you guys as an audience, and I hope that makes you feel better about where you're spending your time and the group that you're in. I mean, granted, the chat room's so awesome, it's a nice hang, even if I was a complete lunatic. But that said, it's nice that it works out in that regard, and that right again, both about Trump shitting himself and farting in court, and the passage of the bill. At some point, I'm gonna have to, when politics gets boring again, I'm just gonna go back to being a psychic. I gotta get somebody called Dionne Warwick. I need her to do a commercial for me. So, anyways, blessings to you guys, and I will see you on Monday.
Even outside, it's packed.
Hit that like on your way out if you haven't already. And thank you guys for the support today. Thank you guys for the super chat. Thanks for the new followers and the new subscribers. Bless you guys for jumping in there. I appreciate it. And if you're on Twitch and it's been a while since you subscribed, please think about doing that. That'd be lovely. Thanks for becoming members on the YouTube channel as well. It's a great way to support the show, especially all the folks who are in the Midas universe. I appreciate the crossover fanage there. And I'm more than happy to have helped boost their Twitch channel during these troubled times. Yeah, good times. Hold on. And thank you guys on Instagram, all the new folks over there who've been watching regularly on that channel. Appreciate it. And there they go. Excellent. Look, you guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for Kathleen. Hit that like, everybody. It means a lot. It makes a huge difference. And really helps us out in the algorithm world. And I gotta say, today is one of those days where I almost felt like I was gonna tear up on the show specifically around this. And I have no problem with doing it. Luckily we fended it off. Time so I can be a professional.